Hey guys, I'm Taylor at Growing with the Griffins, and today I'm going to show you how I'm able to grow a lot of tomatoes in a small space, as well as some pruning techniques for maximum yield and plant health. I'd also like to show you guys two different options for what you can grow your tomato plants on. So maybe you got some tomato plants this year, or you've gotten them in the past, and you love the bunches of tomatoes that you get from them, but there's only a few, and then it's over, and that's a bummer. Well, the truth is you can get a lot of tomatoes from a single tomato plant if you know how to prune it properly. Disclaimer for what I'm going to show you, these techniques only apply to indeterminate tomato varieties. And I've got a blog post with a link in the description that kind of outlines the differences between determinate tomatoes and indeterminates. So if you want to learn more about that, click on the link. But for today, we're going to be just talking about indeterminate tomatoes. On every tomato plant, you have 4 different types of growth. You've got your main stalk. We call this the leader. You've also got your leafing branches. These are pretty easy to spot, as well as your fruiting branches. These will have the little yellow flowers, and then you'll start popping out tomatoes. And then you've got the suckers. And you're only going to ever cut off 2 of these types of growth. And they're very easy to see. You just need to know what you're looking for. These are going to be the lower leafing branches and the suckers. Those are the only ones that you'll ever prune off. So starting with the lower leafing branches, the reason that you'll want to prune these off is because once a plant produces a fruiting branch, it won't produce any other fruiting branch below that branch. A lower leafing branch will bring energy and send energy to the bottom part of the plant. But what you want is for the plant to send energy upwards so that more fruiting branches grow. So you can cut off the lower leafing branches. And if you're concerned about cutting off the lower leafing branches, you feel like you're cutting off your beautiful plant that you grew, just ask yourself, do I want to grow more leaves or do I want to grow more tomatoes? Another huge benefit to pruning off the lower leafing branches is that if you don't, the lower leafing branches will droop down and touch the ground. And it's from the ground that they're going to get unwanted fungi and bacteria growing on them. When there's unwanted fungi and bacteria growing on a leaf, it'll become diseased, which will attract pests naturally, and they'll just walk right up the leaf onto the plant and start chomping away. So if you cut off these lower leafing branches and you minimize the amount of contact that the plant has with the ground, you're much more likely to have a plant that's healthy and that doesn't attract pests and produces exactly what you want it to. If you've got diseased or dying or dead branches, you can just cut those off, cut them off as soon as possible so that the plant doesn't spend any more energy trying to revive them. Remove them from the area so that the disease doesn't spread to other plants. The other part of the tomato plant that you want to look for to prune is the sucker. And you'll see a sucker coming out from between the main stalk and a leafing branch. In between, on the upper side, there will be a sucker coming out, and you can just cut that off as close to the main stalk as possible. You can also cut these off by hand, but I would recommend using a sharp pair of small clippers, because if you pull it off by hand, you run the risk of tearing the plant. And then you're creating an open spot where the plant needs to send energy to create a healing scab. And there's also a risk of other disease entering in through that basically open plant wound. So the one warning that I want to give you when you're cutting off suckers is to avoid cutting off the leader. And the reason I say this is because the leader looks identical to all the other suckers, except for when a plant shoots out a sucker, it's trying to grow a new tomato plant. And when it pops out the leader, it's just continuing the growth of the original plant. And you want to grow the original plant. You want it to just spend all of its energy focusing on the one main stalk. Now, if you accidentally prune off the leader, like I seem to do just about every year with a couple plants, the plant will stop growing upward, and all of the fruiting branches that it has are what it's got. And so they'll produce the fruit, and then it'll be done. However, now this gets a little bit complex, but if you accidentally cut off the leader, but you leave a sucker still on the plant, you can make that sucker the new leader. All you'll do is just treat that sucker as the leader, as the main stalk, and you'll prune around it and you'll tie it up just like how you would with the main stalk. But if you want to avoid this altogether, you can just wait until the plant is a little bit bigger at the top so that you can be sure to tell, okay, this is the leader, I don't want to cut this off, and this is a sucker, I do want to cut that off. Now I'll tell you, when you prune tomatoes this intensely, you'll be surprised at how quickly they grow and how high they get. So you're going to need some way to hold them up. I'll show you these two methods. In this way, we've got just a single bamboo stake, and the plant grows up it, and you just kind of wind it around it, or you can tie it to it. In this other way, we're just using string, and we've tied the string to this piece of scrap wood that we found on our yard, and then we've tied the bottom of the string to the bottom of the plant. So we just wind the plant up the string, and it grows, and it's got plenty of space to grow. And I really like this method because it's very simple. You just have to have something to tie the string to the top of the plant, and then you bring the string all the way down to the bottom, and then you can wind the plant up the string as it grows. And here you can see that we have 8 different tomato plants growing in about a 10 square foot area. So this is the benefit of pruning. When you really prune these guys and get them nice and thin, there's plenty of airflow in between them still, you can grow a lot of tomatoes in a very small space. This is just a tiny garden bed next to the house. I hope this video was helpful, and if it was, please hit the like button and subscribe to our channel so you can get updated when we come out with more content like this.